This is 5 on your side at 6. Focused on you.
Tonight, a Metro East community honors a 16-year-old student who died in a crash over the weekend. Columbia High School sophomore Crawford Bryant was supposed to be on the soccer field tonight. However, his life was cut short. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. The losses hit the community hard in Columbia, Illinois, and the surrounding areas. And tonight, they continued to wrap their arms around each other. Our Justina Cornell joins us live from the soccer field.
Well, that soccer game will begin at 7, and shortly before they will be honoring Crawford Bryant. He was a varsity soccer player, and tonight we're learning that his teammates will be wearing an armband with the number 5.
The outpouring of support and love and compassion has been heartwarming in this tragic time.
Community and compassion, a much-needed pairing for this crippling crisis. Over the weekend, 16-year-old Columbia High Schooler Crawford Bryant died in a car crash in Monroe County. He was with 3 other Columbia High School students.
The impact from any tragedy like this, I mean, adults are dealing with the loss of a child, the children are losing a friend. It's been a huge impact.
An impact that's insurmountable. That's why Columbia School District Superintendent knows every helping hand is needed.
The outpouring from local communities, sending us their guidance counselors and social workers to assist us, and just the calls and the supports and how can we help has just been tremendous.
Sharing their counselors for support is Waterloo High School. It's a different school nearby, but the pain is similarly felt.
Some that have competed on teams with him and against him over the years. And right now we're putting those competition rivalries aside between Waterloo and Columbia and trying to be there to help.
On Wednesday, Waterloo High School held a fundraiser, wearing a hat for a donation to the affected families.
Our student council and student renaissance team were looking for ways to support their peers at Columbia.
While they may be rivals, they're on the same team for Crawford Bryant.
There's a lot of good in our community, and we're seeing that through our students and through the adults, through the community, that willingness to help support each other is there, and will continue to be there as we go through the next steps.
Now, this isn't the only game. There is a big rivalry game Friday night between Columbia and Waterloo, but instead they'll be wearing blue and orange to show support. As for tomorrow, all classes district-wide are canceled for funeral services. Reporting live, Justina Cornell, 5 on your side.
Tonight, a small town is rallying behind a family after a boating crash killed a Owensville father and 7-year-old girl over Labor Day weekend. Samantha Newbound tells us her family was boating on the Gasconade River on Sunday, something they had done many, many times, when their boat struck a tree root and crashed into a rock bluff. Her husband Raven and 7-year-old daughter Avery Newbound were killed in that accident. Samantha, the mom, is still recovering in the hospital days later, as is her 9-year-old daughter. And then the couple's 2 other children were hurt, but they've been released from the hospital. A GoFundMe page for their family has already raised over $30,000. Samantha tells us they have a long road ahead.
They were just amazing people who were taken way too soon, and I'm just glad they're together. And I wish they were still here with me.
Samantha is hoping she and her daughter Addison will be released from the hospital soon. We have a link to that GoFundMe under the As Seen on TV section on KSTK.com.
A man indicted in connection with a St. Francis County cold case appeared in court this morning to proclaim his innocence. 69-year-old Wesley Marler was recently charged with first-degree assault in the 1989 death of Jimmy Wade Martin outside of a Bonne Terre bar, which later became the focus of the Small Town Forgotten podcast. 5 on your side's Holden Kerwicki has new information on this story.
For longtime St. Francis County resident Chris Halsey, there's only one way to describe Bonne Terre.
It's just you're everywhere, small town, USA, everybody knows everybody.
However, for the past 35 years, this community has held a dark secret.
In 1989, Jimmy Wade Martin was murdered. A man was charged that night, sat in jail for 3 years, and then before his trial was let out, just let free 3 days before the trial.
After years without any movement in the case,
He's laying here.
Halsey started the Small Town Forgotten podcast with Martin's twin daughters as a way to keep the case from going cold.
We knew, just talking to the public, that a lot of people knew what had happened, or a lot of people were telling the same story of what happened. So as we dug into that, we just continued to uncover everything seemed to keep pointing in the same direction.
While Halsey admits waiting years for answers was the hardest part of the investigation,
We weren't sure if it was going to happen because there were setbacks.
the evidence they were able to gather helped Missouri State Highway Patrol indict 69-year-old Wesley Marler for first-degree assault in connection with Martin's death.
Our stated purpose for the podcast from the beginning was justice for Jimmy Martin, and we've taken that as far as we think we can, and now that an arrest has been made, it's kind of out of our hands, and it's in the hands of a jury of Wesley Marler's peers.
Following the recent developments in this case, Halsey says he plans to release a new episode of Small Town Forgotten on Friday following a 9-month hiatus. For more information on where you can listen to that podcast, just go to KSDK.com and look for this story under the As Seen on TV tab. Reporting in St. Francis County, Holden Kerwicki, 5 on your side.
The results of the recount are in. St. Louis Sheriff Vernon Betts came up short in his bid for a third term.
His primary challenger, Alfred Montgomery, won a close primary race last month, and then Betts went to court seeking a recount. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, was in the room when officials wrapped up that recount. Mark?
Recounts are so rare. The room where it happened was locked and curtains covered the windows, but by the time city election officials finished scanning all the ballots back through those tabulators, those curtains opened and computers started spitting out results that were almost the same.
At the Board of Election Commissioners,
they're just basically pushing things through the scanner.
Restless moments for Alfred Montgomery.
There's multiple batches in here.
This recount in a razor-thin race could decide the fate of his young political career.
We are watching a recount here that my opponent requested.
What are you watching for?
So I'm looking to see if any malfunctions with the machines, anything whatsoever irregular when it comes to counting these ballots.
What have you seen so far?
I'm just like watching paint dry. I'm just sitting here all day since yesterday, so this is day 2. Just making sure that, nothing fraudulent happens with these ballots.
Hours later, results were confirmed.
It looks like this is another victory. I will be the next sheriff of the city of St. Louis.
Incumbent Sheriff Vernon Betts came up at least 221 votes short. He could insist on a recount by hand if he coughs up 10 grand.
I can't predict, but my guess would be that this would be satisfactory, certainly to the court, and probably to the sheriff as well.
The citizens of St. Louis have spoken. Now it's time to move our sheriff's office forward.
Hiccups along the way gave Montgomery's team some heartburn.
The numbers are off essentially by 80 votes.
Smudges in the scanner sent officials scrambling for a second.
You could see lines on the scanner as the images were going across. So when that was happening, the lines potentially got in the ovals.
With a 50 vote difference, we need to come out with a better voted counting system with the Board of Elections.
But the end result remained unchanged.
It's the exact same ballots we had on election day, shoving them through the exact same machines, right? It's the exact same tabulators.
We have a copy of one of those sample ballots here that was sort of spoiled. Maybe you can see how some of these black lines sort of smudged through or crossed through an unmarked oval. Officials assured us if something like this were to happen on election day, the machine would spit this ballot out and ask you, a voter, to clarify what you meant. Of course, in a hand recount, the markings here would also be obvious.
Coming up, mosquitoes test positive for the West Nile virus in one Jefferson County town.
Plus, the trees are already losing leaves, but when will those leaves change color? The peak time for leaf peeping.
And we're talking about temperatures that are going to jump tomorrow and then drop off big time this weekend. Question is, will we get any rain? We'll see in a few minutes.